welcome, family. I want to first of all acknowledge Bobby and Sabrina for getting together this total health event that's going to bring you to another level in your consciousness, in your thought patterns, and in your physical health. And also I want to acknowledge you, my audience, my brothers and sisters, for being here and for making a commitment that you want to take yourself to the next level. Because, you know, there's an expression that says, a mind once expanded never returned to its original dimensions.
Right.
So, yes. So we definitely want to make an impact in your consciousness to stretch you and also to help you to have a better understanding of what's going on in the world, in your body, and in the system that we're living in. So Bobby chose our subjects for us. So it was a little bit challenging trying to condense a course into 30 minutes. Yeah, so the subject that I was given, it's called Proven Techniques for Staying Mentally and Emotionally Healthy. And this is a very important topic that we do need to address. I don't know if you all know Dr. Joy DeGruy, and she talks about how that every other race and every other group of people has had some type of health and healing and some type of mental processes, you know, to help us to deal with all the traumas that we have gone through as a family. But I believe that it is time, and so if you haven't listened to her, please listen to her because it's absolutely awesome. So I'm going to give you the first sentence that Dr. Goss gave us when we took our first iridology class. And he said, clean out your body so your brain can think. And I never forgot that. And so in other words, most of the time we never think about our brain. We never think about our mental and emotional thing until somebody in our family or we experience some type of trauma, some type of devastating experiences in our lives. But I want to give you some overviews. I want to give you some, first of all, some theory about, you know, your brain and your nervous system and this emotional and the mental state that you're going into. So I want you to understand that the script is true when it says, get wisdom, get knowledge, but of all of thy getting, get an understanding. So if we're going to talk about mental and emotional health, then you need to have an understanding of what does that really mean. So I'm going to give you some theory and some definitions first, and then we're going to go into, I want to spend most of my time on techniques and solutions. But I want you to understand, when we talk about mental, what does that mean? When we talk about emotional, what does that mean? So the definition to mental means relates to the mind, or it could mean disorders of the mind. Mental means relate to a person's cognitive behavior and emotional well-being. When we talk about emotional, it means intense feelings that are openly displayed. Emotional means a conscious mental reaction. So I want to lay a foundation for you to deal with and why you need to take care of your brain and your nervous system more. So the brain is the master computer of the body. All our feelings, thoughts, emotions, it runs through the brain and the nervous system. So when we're talking about the mental and emotional, we are definitely talking about the brain. And in iridology, because I'm an iridologist for 38 years, there are different areas of the brain that shows up in the eyes of when it is totally out of balance and when the physical body is out of balance. So the brain is directly connected to every organ and system inside of your body. So is the eyes and also the intestinal system and the spinal column. So that's the reason why we need to take care of the brain more than, well, not more than, but in addition to taking care of the physical body. Because as I said, most people, they don't think about their brain as much as they think about the body. I need to cleanse my kidneys and cleanse my liver. And, you know, they go through all these things. I need to take some chlorophyll. I mean, you know, all these different things. And all that is perfect. But just remember, that the brain is the master computer of the body. And so all the emotions, all of your thoughts, all of your attitudes, disposition, and everything is running through that brain and your nervous system. So it controls 9 major systems in the body. It controls 7 major glands in the body. And also it houses all of the glands, the hypothalamus gland, the pituitary gland, the pineal gland. All of these glands is controlling everything in your body. So it's important to understand, what this brain and this nervous system is to us. So in order for you to take care of the brain, you need to know also who you are, really. So first of all, you're a divine being, and you have a soul. The soul is made up of your mind, your will, your intellect, and all your emotions. So that's where this brain and mental health and emotional health come in, because that's coming from your soul realm. So you want to make sure that every one of your organ systems and your brain, nervous system, everything about your body, it have a need. So you want to make sure that everything is taken care of properly. So then if the brain is the master computer of the body and the pituitary gland is the master gland of the glands, then you have to ask the question, where will I be without my brain? Where will I be without my nervous system? So we want to give you these facts about a little more about the brain, and then we're going to go into some solutions. In your brain, you have your conscious mind, you have your subconscious mind, you have your superconscious mind. And I want you to seriously give more attention to your superconscious mind, because that's where we need to be today.
Yes.
We need to get into the super subconscious mind, because that means that if we get into the super subconscious mind, we get into our God self. We get into our true self. We get into the powerful self. Because too much of hopelessness and helplessness and depression and all of these things is going on, because we are forgetting that we are divine being, and we are forgetting about that we are a God being. So that means that whatever that we say that the Creator was, our ancestors, or whoever that we say that the Creator was, we have to understand that that same power, that same spirit, and that same energy is each one of us. And so it is time for all of us to become the healers on this planet Earth. We are the healers on this planet Earth, so the first place you go is first heal yourself. Go into every aspect of what does it mean to be healed. You need to look all these words up. And also in our brain, we also have our crown chakra, which is an energy center, and we have our third eye, which is the brow center. In that pineal gland, the brow center, there is everything that you need to know about everything about you, your past, your present, and your future. It's all inside of you. So we definitely want to address the issues that will show up indicating that there's a reason for taking care of our brain and our mental, emotional health. So these are some things that will show up. How do you know if you have any mental, emotional issues going on? I'm just going to go through this list, and you might find yourself in this list. I guarantee that one of them or two of them or four of them is going to show up for you. If you have, these are things that will show up in the mental and emotional body parts of your being. If you have ongoing chronic negative emotions, if you have excess anger, if you have excess fears, where you have nervousness, anxiety, depression, jealousy, envy, negative self-talk, unforgiveness, grief, sorrow, helplessness, hurts, heartaches, emotional pains, Alzheimer's, dementia, tension, fatigue, frustrations, low self-esteem, lack of self-control, burdens, insomnia, laziness, addiction, and obsessions. All of these things is indicating that our brain and our nervous system need some help. So now we're going to go into some solutions. I'm rushing through because I don't want to go over my time frame. You know,
That's
doing a good job.
to ask questions.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Please write your questions.
Yeah, don't, yeah.
Okay.
You can work a little longer than that.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so I gave you this foundation so you can understand why we need to help and why we need good mental health and good emotional health. One, how can we function without it? How can we solve our problems? Our problems, the needs, is not for the government to do anything, because to me, I don't see anything that they've done so far. So that means that if we, there's another little expression says, if it is to be, it is up to me. If it is to be, it is up to me. If everybody start making that confession, make that saying a part of your total being, understand you are the solution to your problems. I'm not your best doctor. I've been a doctor 38 years, but I'm not your best doctor. You are. You are. So I want you to take on that mindset that you are the best doctor for you. Even though I'm the iridologist, I take evaluations on anything and everything that's going on in a person's body from the top of their head to the sole of their feet, but I still listen to the client because they know their body longer than I will know it. You know, so I want you to start getting a new mindset. You are not subject to anything outside of yourself. See, that's the reason you have to rise up to your God self. You have to rise to your true self. You have to rise up to all of your powers. So if you got a conscious mind, a subconscious mind, a superconscious mind, you got a pineal gland, a pituitary gland, you have all of these resources available to you, and I say start using them. So let's get into the solutions. One of the main things, remember I said that Dr. God said to us in our first class, that was the first statement, he said, clean out your body so your brain can think. So the very first thing that you want to do is clean out your body. Because every part of your intestinal system, every part of it, 22 feet of small intestine, 6 feet of large intestines, all of it is connected to a different part and a different system inside of your body. So if the brain is in the upper part of the body, so that means that's your transverse colon. And so that transverse colon controls everything from your stomach all the way to the top of your head. And what's up here in the top of this head? Your brain, your nervous system, pineal gland, hypothalamus, thalamus, all of it is controlled by this part of the intestinal system. The intestinal system is the waste eliminating system, but it's also the feeding system. If you don't get that right, you can take every kind of spirulina, every kind of thing that you want, but if it's clogged up,
Yes.
if it's clogged up, how you going to get your food, your nourishment? That small intestines is a factor within its own self. So you have to, first of all, if you want your brain and your mind and your consciousness to be at a better place, clean out the bowels, clean out the blood, clean up the liver. The second solution is, of course, herbal brain supplement. All three of us, we totally agree with that. We need some help. So I say that's the first thing to do. Get into the herbals. That wasn't that our first medicines?
Yes. Our ancestors.
Did our ancestors give us drugs and medications and radiation and chemotherapy and surgery? Is that what our ancestors gave us? No. So that means we have to get some herbal nutrients. And if any of us is nearing 50 or over 50, the brain needs more nutrients than the body do.
Yes.
So that means you got to feed and nourish your brain every day, because after 50, the cognitive functions and a lot of all the processes start going down, down, down. Also, what will help the brain is flower essence. Get into the flower essence. They are absolutely awesome. I use them all the time, plus my herbal formula. This is one of my herbal formulas somewhere here. Okay, yeah. This one here. Brain food, yes. This is what I tell people. If you're not ready to change your life, change your consciousness, don't take this formula. Because it will literally change your life. Because
You'll be confused.
yes, you know, because see, the brain talks to the body and the body talks back to the brain all of the time. So you want to make sure you put some nourishment in there so it can communicate and heal your body. Do you know it's the brain that heals the body? Yeah, so that means when you go to rest and go to sleep at night, that brain and that body, they start communicating with each other. The brain start telling the body, look like you need this. The brain will talk back to the brain, say, I think I need this. So that communication is going on all the time. So you want to make sure that the communication is going on. Plus, like I said, you have this all-knowing gland. When you talk about the all-knowing, just think about all-knowing. You have a gland inside of your body that knows everything about you. So you want to make sure that you take these, first of all, clean the body. Then the next thing, take these different essences. And also the most powerful one that I love is essential oils. Ooh, the essential oils. Oh, God.
Yes.
Now here's the difference in an herb and the essential oils. The herbs got to go down through the nervous system, through the digestive system, break it down. But the essential oils, 30 minutes. Yeah. They're working in your body. And I have 30 products altogether. I just bought 4 because this is the foundation, for everybody. But if I could only sell one product, I would sell the brain food formula. Because I believe we're the most brilliant people on the planet, but we done went to sleep some kind of way. So we need to wake up. We need to wake up. And that's what we are attempting to bring to you today, so that we can wake up, so we can solve our own problems.
Right.
Next help is brain mind clearing. It's called the brain dump. So in other words, sometimes in the iridology, there's a line called the animation line, and that animation line, and then there's another one called the mind agility line. So that means it's too much stuff in the brain and the mind. This thing, that thing, this issue, that issue. So much stuff is going on in the brain and the mind. So after a while, you don't know where you're going. Really. You can't sleep good at night, got insomnia, got negative emotions going on. So when you do the brain mind dump, what you do is get a notebook. Did I say paper? Did you all hear me say anything?
Yeah, paper.
I said get a notebook.
Yeah.
Because you want to empty out everything that's on your brain, that's on your mind, anything that frustrates you, upsets you, anger, job, husband, wife, children, anything and everything that's affecting you that you thinking about all of the time. Because what you need to be thinking about all the time is, how can I become my God self? That should be the main dominant thing that should be on our mind. So the brain dump, it gives your brain the opportunity to totally relax. Because remember I said that the only time that the body heals itself is when you sleep at night. So if you get in the bed with all these thoughts all in your brain, all in your thought patterns and everything, then it's not doing what it needs to do. It's not healing itself. It's not healing the body. So that's the brain dump. Next thing, positive confessions, affirmations, declarations, and decrees. Remember that I said, no, I didn't say it to you, but listen, your body cells listen to all of your thoughts. Your body cell listen to all of your thoughts. So if your thoughts is negative, this thing, that problem, this situation, or whatever, then you are not having a positive mental state for your brain to function out of. So what you have to do is you have to get something that you want to take place inside of your life, inside of your body, wherever it is, and you want to make sure that it's not just on the conscious mind, but that it goes to the subconscious mind and go to the superconscious mind, because when it goes to the subconscious mind and the superconscious mind, then it functions perfectly. It functions automatically. When you get in a car, do you have to say, foot, push the brakes, foot, push the accelerator? Do y'all have to say that? No. No, because it's in the subconscious mind. You have did it enough, you practiced enough, that it's now a reality for yourself. You can do the same thing with any and every area of your life.
That's right. Right.
Whatever you want to accomplish, it has to get to the subconscious. Don't think that you're going to just have this little notion about something and you're going to say it 1 or 2 times and you think you're going to get the benefits. That's not going to happen. So you want to make these positive affirmations, declarations, and decrees. For instance, I listen at this confession. I now choose to improve every area of my life through my own efforts, behavior, and actions. See, so I say that one to myself every day because I'm choosing it. I choose to improve every area of my life through my own efforts, behavior, and actions. See, so you make up your own confession. You don't have to go read somebody else's book about it. Make up your own confession because you know better than you. Who knows better than you? Make up your own confession, affirmation, declaration, and decrees. Repeat it to yourself every day. Twice a day sometime. I have used this practice over all these last 38 years that I've been in business. Anything that I want, I write it down first. That's the other thing. Your confession, affirmation can't just be up in your head. You have to write it down and read it to yourself every day until it becomes automatic. Another way to help your mental and emotional self: reflexology, massage, Reiki, crystal energy balancing. Utilize some of all of these practices because they will help you. Why? Because every one of your emotions is housed in a body, organ, or system. So when you're doing massage, when you're doing Reiki, when you're doing crystal energy, when you're doing color therapy, when you have all these practices going on, colon therapy, it's powerful. I know that Angela can tell you about people on her table that all of a sudden they started crying on the table because they done moved some waste out of an organ or system through the intestinal system. So utilize some of all of these other practices that's available to us. Myself personally, honey, I tell everybody I need all the help I can get. And I'm going to use every one that I can get. You know. Another beautiful practice for solutions is fitness walking. If you can't go outside, get a DVD, play it on the computer or play it on your laptop or however. Do some physical walking. By you moving your feet, you're actually stimulating your mind and stimulating your brain. Reflexology is connected to every organ and system inside of your body. So when you're doing all these powerful things, you're actually helping to heal yourself. Deep breathing. Do the brain need less oxygen or more oxygen? More. So that means that if we do some deep breathing, at least about 20 minutes, I mean, this is a good time to do it when you go to sleep at night. Because then, honey, you can't think of nothing but try and hold it for a while, then let it go. You can't, your mind can't go all over every place when you're doing that deep breathing. So you want to bring oxygen up to that brain at nighttime and also when you wake up in the morning. Start that deep breathing process. Another powerful thing, 72 to 96 ounces of spring water. If not every day, at least 5 days a week. Oxygen is only dispersed in the body through water. Not sodas, not juice, not this thing, that, Oxygen is only released in the body through water. And the water, the body needs how much of water? 72 to 96 ounces. But our body itself is how much water? 70%. So that's why that water is so important. When you go through some serious trauma or serious emotional states and seem like your emotions are out of control, go drink 2 glasses of water at once. Drink it all down. I guarantee you it'll disperse some of all that energy out of the body because you're going to urinate it out or you're going to have an elimination. Another solution, 15 minutes of sun. You know the sun is one of the most powerful healers there is.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yes. So we need it. We need to get in the sun every day. Because we are called what? Sun people.
Yes.
We are called sun people, so that means that the sun loves us and we love the sun. But look at how the jobs they give you, from 8 to 5. So in other words, the best time to get in the sun is before 10 o'clock and after 3 o'clock. Because most of the time we're in these jobs. So that means you have to find your space where you're going to get in that sun for 15 minutes to help to heal yourself and also to open up that pineal gland. Another solution. I'm almost finished.
Take your time.
Subliminal tapes. They've got every kind of subliminal you could pick up on YouTube. If not, make up your own. So in other words, play some music, but then make your own confessions in the midst of all of these beautiful music that's going on. Because you want to get to your, which kind of mind? Super. There you go. Exactly. See, I know you all was listening. Yes. Last one. If you want to have good mental, emotional health, identify your mission, your calling, your purpose, your passion. Identify it. Because that's going to make you happier. I'm telling you. I love my men. I love my sisters. I love my brother. I love my mother. But honey, I love me better than everybody. Yes. I need to be happy. Because see, they might not be enrolled into the process of making me happy.
Right.
So that means I have to be happy. So that means you find your mission, find your calling, find your purpose, find the reason why you came here. You came here for a reason. You came here to do something. You came here to make an impact. And I guarantee you, every one of you have gifts, talents, skills, and abilities that you haven't even tapped into yet. So I said, I want to stretch you. This class is to help you stretch beyond what you already know. I believe, I accept where you are is good. But I want you to go for it because it's critical right now. It's a critical time right now. Like I said, the thought came to me the last time that I was down in Dr. Goss's place. The spirit came into my consciousness and it says it's time for the healers to rise up.
Yeah.
So guess what? The healers are right here, all of you all. It's time for us to get a whole mindset and project this healing all over this planet. Because the agenda, see, that's why I don't talk about all that COVID madness too much.
Thank you.
Because I have another agenda.
Yes.
Thank you.
So my agenda is about health and healing.
Yes.
So don't you know that if we got this mind that knows everything about everything, know how to do anything and everything, do you know that if the group of us collectively start sending out healing vibrations to our family and our friends and relatives and everybody, look, yeah, we are so powerful. You got healing centers inside of the palm of your hand. So when you're laying on the hands of somebody, healing energy is coming out of you and going to somebody else. And plus, you don't even have to touch it.
Yes.
Energy.
You can project that energy, project those thoughts into another person, project it all over your family. Make those confessions, make those affirmations, and let it get to the what kind of mind? Superconscious. Yes. And then here's the other thing about activating your true self, your God self. Do you know that you have 7 generations on the mom side, 7 generations on the dad side would give talent, skills, and abilities and everything that's inside of you? Anything and everything that my mom had, I have it. And my grandmama and my great-grandmama. So we need, that's why I said, my goal here is to help to waken us up. I heard somebody said in their presentation, it's time to wake up. It is time to get the divine plan working in our lives. And this is my last confession. Well, no, two confessions that it says. I now choose to release, let go, forgive, forget anything, everything, anyone that is no longer a part of the divine plan for my life. See, that means you're going to throw off some stuff. So when you're doing that cleansing and detoxification, and when you're drinking the water, and when you're doing the herbs, essential oil, honey, I now choose. See, you got to choose it. Choose is a powerful word. We're the only thing on the planet that have the opportunity to choose. Cat can't choose, dog, heart, nobody else can choose beside us. So utilize it. I now choose to release, let go of anything, everything, anybody that's no longer part of the divine plan for my life. Don't waste your time on madness and craziness and stuff. That don't mean anything right now. If it's in the past, that means the past, and we need to bury it.
Yes.
That's right.
We need to come to a new level of consciousness. And then the last one is, I choose to follow the divine plan that is unfolding in me, with me, through me, right now, at this very moment. Thank you so much for sharing.
If you have, I like to have all the speakers speak before we get into a Q&A.
Yes.
So write your questions down, okay, for what, for a speaker, and we'll have time at the end of the seminar.
Yes.
Okay, now I'm gonna turn the floor over to Todd.
How you guys doing? So, my name is Todd Lynum. I'm the owner and herbalist of the Iridologist. I've created over 100 different formulas for different diseases, for disease prevention, disease healing, nutrition purposes, and I do stuff for vanity, like if you want to, because that's important. People like growing their hair, stuff like that. This is my passion.
Yes.
So the topic that she asked me to talk about today was, should we rely on the vaccine exclusively, or should we be relying on it at all? And I don't like to be considered an expert panelist, because whatever I say here today, if it resonates with you, take it. If it doesn't resonate with you, leave it alone. So the first thing we need to think about, number one, is we need to stop calling this a vaccine. That's number one. See, historically, a vaccine involves the pathogen. You have the pathogen that you're trying to prevent yourself from getting. You have a weakened strand of it, a dead strand, or a fragment of it, and you put that in the body through injection, and the body creates antibodies so you can develop immunity. Now, they tried to do that with the coronavirus, but the reason they weren't able to do it because the test subject, too many of the test subjects were dying for it to get FDA approval. So what they decided to do is they came up with this messenger RNA vaccine. Now, people that have been in medical training know that messenger RNA is a coder. It's encoded with instructions, okay? Now, messenger RNA does not, under anybody's belief system, prevent you from catching COVID. Now, they told us when we first started this vaccination program they would prevent, but when they saw the breakthrough and all these different strands, they revised and said, well, it doesn't prevent you from catching COVID. Secondly, it does not reduce your viral load, meaning that you are just as contagious as someone who's unvaccinated if you are vaccinated. So what is this vaccine really doing? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. So they tell you that if you take the vaccine, it reduces the likelihood of hospitalization. Now, no one can provide any double-blind studies or anything to validate that. I can say, drink orange juice every day, and you will reduce the likelihood of your hospitalization. I can't prove that. That's the same thing they're saying on TV. But you see this on TV, and you see it on CNN, you see it on the news, they keep telling you this thing, but no one is providing you with any double-blind studies to prove that that actually is true. Now, it doesn't mean it's not true, but they can't prove it. So, now, a lot of us took this vaccine before it was FDA approved, which means that you took an experimental treatment because of fear. Now, fear can sometimes supersede common sense.
That's true.
Many of us were not even sick when we took this vaccine.
That's right.
You know, so we took it because we were pressured by our job, by family members, and just fear. Now, I'm not one to tell anyone whether they should take the vaccine or not to take the vaccine. That's a personal choice. Everybody has to make. What I am here to do is share information about the vaccine. Now, since there's no coronavirus actually in any of these vaccines, you cannot create any antibodies from taking the vaccine to prevent yourself from getting sick. So that means what are you taking it for? What is it doing? They still haven't proven what it does, because it doesn't prevent, and it doesn't make you less contagious. So messenger RNA is a coder, so it's encoded with instructions. So in this particular vaccine, it's encoded with instructions to create spike proteins. Now, in theory, the spike proteins are supposed to hook onto the coronavirus and remove it out the body so that you have less of an impact from catching the virus. They've never done any double-blind tests on this to really verify that. They created this vaccine very quickly. Usually vaccines take 5, 10, 15 years to develop so that they can test for safety, long-term safety. Now, when you take the vaccine, they make you sign a waiver that you cannot sue. So, and then, let me back up further before I go into that. In 1984, the vaccine manufacturers lobbied Congress so that they cannot be sued for any of their products. Now, if the government wants to make a mandatory vaccine program, then we need to roll that back. Because the vaccine manufacturers need to be accountable for their product. Because who knows what happens 5, 10, 15 years from now if you have come down with some strange autoimmune disease, something happens to you and you can't sue. Now, there is a recourse because every time you take a vaccine, I think $1 that goes into a fund. And if you are harmed, they let you go to the vaccine administration. I can't remember the name of it, but you can get up to $75,000 if you die. Now, $75,000.
How much can you live?
But they usually deny everybody's claims right off the bat. So you have to really fight to even get that $75,000. Now,
Family gets it?
your family gets it. So the question you have to ask yourself when you think about taking this vaccine is, does the government, does the FDA, do these drug manufacturers, do you have they build up enough trust for you to allow them to vaccinate you with something like this? And so, and my question would be, okay, well, Johns Hopkins University and Bristol-Myers Squibb admitted that they were sterilizing people in third world countries under the guise of vaccinations. We've had the Tuskegee experiment right here on American soil. Then you also have to consider Barack Obama was talking about a pandemic coming to the next administration before it even happened. How did he know that? You know, that's a problem. And then Trump got criticized for defunding all the things that Barack did. Then you have Bill Gates, who's on record saying that he's about population control. He thinks that we should, the population should be about 1/3 less. No medical training. He's in charge of the World Health Organization. He's the one giving advice out. He's running simulations about a pandemic 2 or 3 weeks before a pandemic hits. See, these are the questions that we have to ask ourselves before we decide, are we going to get this vaccination? You know, personally, I'm not getting it. I'm not getting it. I have to leave my job or whatever to do. I'm not taking the vaccine. Now, that's me personally. Now, I don't judge people who get it because some people have responsibilities, their job forces them to get it. I understand that. I just want you to be informed before you do make the decision to get it. Now, if you do get the vaccination, I don't have a method of getting that out of you because I don't know what it's all in. If you look at vaccinations historically, if you look at some of the ingredients, there's formaldehyde, there's a lot of neurotoxins in there. And so, formaldehyde is that's basically embalming fluid. There's a reason they have that out there in there, but there's a reason for everything they have in there. They have green monkey tissue, they have all kinds of crazy stuff in the vaccines. So, I don't tell people not to get it because that's a personal decision, but you do need to understand what you're doing and what you're setting yourself up for. So, furthermore, does everybody remember the movie Rain Man?
Yeah.
Before Rain Man, autism was unheard of in our community. It's unheard of.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't see people who were autistic. And then after that, you see all these autistic children coming about. And then you see, you know, right now about 1 out of 75 black children is autistic. So everybody knows somebody has an autistic child. And, you know, they deny the connection between vaccinations and autism. However, John F. Kennedy Jr. went to Louis Farrakhan and told him that there was a plot to make people in certain communities intellectually non-competitive through the vaccination program. And what Farrakhan said to him is, "Why are you bringing this to me? You know, why not somebody else?" And what he told him was, "I'm bringing it to you because there's nobody else that can warn the people." You know, so these are types of things, and there's no hard evidence that there's, you know, that anybody's been, that vaccines are tied to autism. However, the proof is in the daily picture. You know, there shouldn't be all these children running around here who are autistic. Now, you know, here's the thing about the vaccine, and this is my opinion. This is not fact, this is my opinion. The vaccine does not work. And the evidence of it not working is, if when you take the vaccine, you can still catch it. See, when I take the chickenpox vaccine, or if I take the measles vaccine, I'm not worried about catching chickenpox or measles from somebody. I don't have to take a booster shot 3 months later. You know? See, the reason it's not working is because messenger RNA does not prevent you from catching it. You have to expose the body to the actual pathogen so that the body can create antibodies. So now the question is, what's really going on here? What's really going on here? You know, I'm not this big conspiracy guy. I'm not. I just deal with facts. And you know, when they create a vaccine, it's about money. So they want to recruit their money. But then you also have to look at who's pushing it and what the agenda is. You know, because you don't know what the messenger RNA. We don't know enough about the messenger RNA to know what else has been encoded in those instructions. And those instructions might have been encoded to make you sterile, to turn you off. See, and I'm only having this conversation with you. This is not something I have a conversation with general people, because I'm not trying to create that kind of, put myself under the microscope after the FDA coming after me and stuff like that. These are conversations I only have with African Americans. So I want you guys to be aware that if you have taken the vaccine, there are some things that you can do. I don't really know how to get the vaccine out of your body, but you want to make sure you don't have any underlining other issues. So my main thing is always about prevention is better than cure or remedy. So you want to prevent yourself from having these diseases, because most of the diseases you're suffering from are what you call degenerative diseases that you have caused in yourself based on your diet and lifestyle. So everything can be fixed, but you want to prevent it from happening in the first place. You know, it's always better to never have something. Like, even when you go to the doctor, when you go to get your colonoscopy, they tell you a man to get his colonoscopy at 50. If you wait till you're 50, you've been irresponsible. You should have been cleaning your colon out like all the time. You're eating like 3 meals a day. And in my practice, I have people come to me and say, "Well, you know, I'm going to the bathroom once a week." Wait a minute, you're eating 21 meals a day. Where do you get that food going? You know, that's why sometimes you see men that look like they're pregnant, because that's feces. 30, 40, 50 pounds of feces that's sitting in their system that's causing disease. See, and it's very important that you be proactive with your health. You know, you don't want to wait until you have a problem. You need to be cleaning your colon, just like your car. You would not change your oil. You would not walk around, drive your car, and not change the air filter. You would not, change the transmission fluid. You have to get your body the same way. You've got to use herbs or use some type of method to tune up your body on an annual basis, depending on your lifestyle. If you're eating, a plant-based diet, maybe you can go by, 2 or 3 years. But if you're eating the standard soul food diet, which is basically starch.
That's right.
You probably need to be cleaning out your system every 3 months, every 6 months. When the season changes, you need to be cleaned out. So it's very important that you understand that this vaccine that they're promoting on us does not actually work. And so it's people don't, subconsciously they know it doesn't work. Because you take the vaccine, you got your booster on, you still drive around in your car with your mask on. Nobody's in the car but you. All the time. People running, jogging and stuff with their mask on, not understanding that you're re-inhaling carbon dioxide. So I want to talk about some methods that you could use to prevent yourself from getting sick. Now, number one, vitamin D3 is the best thing for your immune system. Now, when I say vitamin D3, that's not really the correct term for, because vitamin D3 vitamins come in two forms. The vitamin D comes in two forms. It's actually, there's the vitamin version that you can take, but vitamin D3 is actually a hormone. So when you're outside and sunlight hits your skin, your body will convert that through the endocrine system into vitamin D3 to strengthen your immune system. So that's why it's very important. The device they're giving you in the news is stay in this house. Don't go outside. But you need to be outside in the sun. So you can get some vitamin D3. That's number one, to strengthen your immune system. But if you do encounter the coronavirus, there are some very, very fundamental basic things that everybody knows, but we just don't think to put it into use. Viruses do not survive when there's excessive heat. So you can come home every night and put a boiling bottle of water on and inhale hot steam into your nasal cavity and kill, if the virus was there, and kill it. See, what happens is if you let the virus fester and it goes into your lungs, then you have an issue, because now your body is, the immune system, like, I can't figure out how to fix this. I cannot figure out how to fix this. Then your body says, okay, you know what? This is kind of like Noah's Ark. You're going to just flood it out. Your body just creates lots of mucus to flood it out, and that impairs your ability to breathe. Then you have to go down to the hospital and have them put you on a ventilator, which you may not come out of. You know, see, these are the things that are happening that are causing us. We're following the wrong advice, number one. And second, we have to understand that what they're offering us does not work. That's number one. That's the one thing I want you to walk away from here, is that it does not work. And the evidence of it doesn't working is that you still can catch it. You know, so that doesn't make any sense to me. You know.
That's like the place.
Let me talk about a couple other things. So there's several herbs you can use to boost your immune system. Some of my favorite are echinacea root, golden seal, astragalus. Now, people that are looking for vitamin D3 in the plant kingdom, there's only one form of it that I actually know of. It's called pine pollen. And you remember that, you know that on the pine needles, that little white powder? That powder has vitamin D3 in it. And you can actually put pine needles in tea and drink it. That's a way to get vitamin D3. But the best and most practical way to get vitamin D3 is through the sun. That's what I advise everybody. And so I don't want you guys to pay attention to the news, because a lot of times it's misinformation on there. They show you these statistics that, you know, so many people are dying from the coronavirus. But if you have gotten diagnosed with the coronavirus and you drive and have a car accident, they're gonna say your death was coronavirus related. You know, so the numbers are skewed. So they're trying to create panic. So remember when this first started, they had people walking around in China, standing on the bus stop, talking on the phone, falling dead. A virus ain't gonna do that. They hit them with some type of, like, you know, sometimes they hit them with something that makes people fall out like that, but that's not a virus. So they created panic. And then they made it into this Asian community caused this from eating bats. Wait a minute, they've been eating bats in China for decades. It ain't like this is going to cause a pandemic all of a sudden. You know, these are things that you have to use your common sense to understand that they're trying to create an environment where they can panic you so that they can force you to take a vaccine that does not work, number one, and to make them money, and who knows what else it may do. So, let's see, what I want to cover is, you know, you just have to be very careful to who you're listening to. You know, it's very important that you don't watch. I don't even watch the news when it comes to the pandemic because there's so much misinformation.
Thank you.
And I want people to understand that, you know, you don't have to really. I'm not really concerned about catching. Actually, you know what? I wish I did catch the coronavirus.
Thank you.
Because if I caught it, I would have the antibodies in my body to protect myself. So right now, I haven't got it, so I'm still at risk. You know. So yeah. So it's just one of those things. You have to use your common sense. You have to understand that, you know, America's been at war with African Americans for decades. You know, they don't have any place to send us. They really know that we were already here. They make you think that they brought us over here on some ships, but there was no shipbuilding industry to bring 20 million people over here like that. If there was, where's all the shipwrecks? Because you know, you're not gonna have. In order to do that, you have to send over 250 ships every year for 400 years straight. Where's all the shipbuilding industry to create that? They don't have. See, that's the biggest problem for America, because America will talk about slavery, and that's very bad. But what they're not telling you is the real truth is worse than slavery.
Right.
See, we were already here.
Right.
So they don't have any ways to do us but try to get rid of us. Putting crack cocaine in our neighborhoods. You know, now we have, you know, people getting shot for just, you know, routine traffic stops. You know, it's just ridiculous. And that's a little bit off topic, but I just want you guys to understand that you have to understand that you can't trust what you're seeing on the TV.
That's right.
And you have to understand that you have to take personal responsibility on your own health. So if you're deferring your health to someone else, even if you're deferring it to me, you're doing yourself a disservice. You have to learn what to take. You know, there's some, you know, I gave you a couple herbs you can take to boost your immune system. But you have to, you know, when you manifest in the physical realm, you have to learn how to communicate with your body, because your body talks to you all the time. But we're so busy using pharmaceutical drugs to mask symptoms and mask the discomfort that we can't communicate with our body effectively. So I want to end this with just saying that the best way, don't be concerned about catching the coronavirus. And if you have what you should be concerned about is if you have some underlying health issues, take care of those, so that you won't have an adverse effect if you do catch the coronavirus. That's the main point. And so it's about strengthening your immune system, and you don't have to worry about that. Because, you know, if I catch the coronavirus, I'm not really worried about dying. I'm not worried about dying. You know, I might get sick. It's only people who have compromised their health who have problems like that. You know, if you follow the advice that they're giving you, you're going to have an adverse effect. You're staying in the house, you got a mask on, you can't breathe, you're inhaling carbon dioxide. These are the things that are going to compromise your health. And you have to also pay attention to who's sending the message. See, my issue with Dr. Fauci is
Fauci.
My issue with him is he was the one who was actually doing research on viruses to make them more dangerous, to see how to cure diseases later. And his research was actually going on in Wuhan.
Gain of function.
So what happened? What this virus that we have now is actually very different than other viruses. You know, people don't usually get sick with viruses in summertime. You know?
Say that.
You know, all of a sudden, people get sick in summer heat. And, you know, this is ridiculous. And so
all year round.
I believe that this was weaponized. It weaponized this virus.
Thank you.
And then whether it got unleashed intentionally or unintentionally, now we have to deal with a post-pandemic situation on how we're going to navigate society. You know, so the best thing I can tell you guys to do is take care of your health. Don't worry about the coronavirus. The coronavirus is not an issue if your health is in control. And so when we finish this, you guys have questions, I can follow-up questions, we can talk about anything else you want to talk about.
Yes, Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So my name is Angela Harris, and thank all of you for coming today and investing in your health and wellness. So I'm the founder of Wellness of Life. I've been in holistic health and wellness for 30 years. I've been practicing for over 20 years. And so I just believe for every symptom and reaction, there's a cause. And I believe in the holistic approach. So looking at all aspects, not just one thing or one variable, but also the stage of progression based on an individual, as we're all different and sometimes we all have different templates. So, both of the presenters did amazing in educating and providing information. And so I'm just gonna definitely expound on all of that, as we're all in alignment and congruent with our belief system that I totally believe in. So I'm just grateful to serve and to be a part of this. Okay? So my two topics that they wanted me to cover is how to stay physically healthy in the midst of viruses, and also methods for building your immune system.
Okay.
Yes. And so physical health is not just about fitness. And a lot of times people think about just the physical component of it. But physical also helps address mental and emotional. And so when you talk about fitness, stamina and endurance and all those things to get our heart rate increased in order to promote more oxygen in our body. And in promoting that, you also create your red blood cells to help eliminate impurities out of the body and to oxygenate the body. And what we do know in holistic health and wellness is when your body's fully oxygenated, illness, disease, bacteria, pathogens, microorganisms do not have a fighting chance. And so promoting that physical component, and just knowing that it's not just about fitness, but it's also mental and emotional as our body works together holistically, looking at things from a whole picture, that we all have to just kind of remember that we have a whole body that shows up for us daily. And it's not just about, waking up and only a certain part that you may have a condition or a certain part that you may be concerned with or you feel good, but it functions together. And when it's not, and things happen, the body compensates based on deficiency. So I'm going to go over all that as well. And so really what we're talking about here is a virus. So whatever they want to label it, virus is a virus. And it takes a living organism in order for it to survive, and in order for it to mutate, in order for it to do what it does, as it will try to survive. And so when they talk about different mutations, when they talk about different vaccinations and boosters and things to help it stay at bay, it's also not just about the virus itself, but it's about the host. Remember, it requires a living host in order to survive. Now, knowing what the living host is, that's us as individuals. Because without us and without our cells, it cannot survive. So you want to make sure that you keep your host, yourself, the individual, at a place where it doesn't penetrate, so that it doesn't manifest itself, incubate, and create other things to manifest itself, on top of any type of underlying issues or concerns you may have already going on in your body. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. And so, good topics to talk about that a lot of people may not just even think about daily, because we're so fast-paced. We're always thinking about what we have to do, or we create a to-do list that if I do all these things, then I'm good. But the power of water. So we mentioned it earlier, and so our body comes here operating in 90% water. But we fall 75% and below, and that's why things begin to manifest itself. So we're predominantly water, plasma, and salt. And so when we talk about salts, we talk about the minerals, and we're going to get into that a little later, because that's so important in order for our cells to get what it needs. And if our cells are not getting what it needs, just like absorption, the body's not going to be able to do what it needs to do in order to rebuild itself, and that's what we were designed to do. And then this is just a good slide, just letting you know what holistic health is. Holistic is going to be the whole picture. Alternative, sometimes you have to choose one or the other. And then I also believe in integrative, because sometimes we need x-rays, certain diagnostics, in order to know where we're currently at, rather than just guessing. Just because you have a symptom or reaction, it could just be that moment in time, and it doesn't necessarily mean that that's pretty much who you are, who you will be. Lab work changes, and then, certain x-rays reveal certain things. Certain imaging and radiology and whatnot helps you to determine where you're currently at, so that you're able to know what you're addressing or what you need to address. Okay, this is amazing, because a lot of people do not understand that, and it's really basic and simple. I believe in keeping things simple. We become so overwhelmed sometimes with so much information overload, considering the source, how to filter through it. So these are the 3 top reasons why most people struggle with their health and wellness and why things begin to deteriorate and diminish. And it's malabsorption, which is also malnutrition. We'll go into that. Also impurities, the inability to not release the impurities. We're talking about if you don't release, if you're cleansing, then your body reabsorbs. Meaning this, you have to release in order for you to cleanse. If you're not releasing, you're not cleansing. Okay? And then the other thing is stress, whether it's good or bad stress. How do we manage the mindset? As each individual today, we're talking about just our mindset and our thought process and our beliefs. So what happens is stress begins to suffocate the body. Just think about that. Good or bad. Even if you are trying to establish something with your new regimen as far as health and wellness, and you have this to-do list, and you're very aggressive with it, and then in you transitioning to this new approach, it can be stressful for people. So I believe in being assertive, not aggressive, right? As you transition into that approach. But most importantly, addressing the belief system. Because your belief system regulates your mind. Meaning, whatever you believe is what you tell yourself. What you tell yourself manages your mindset. And in managing the mindset, we'll talk about this a little more as far as the neurotransmitters and receptors of how the body begins to function just based on that brain thought that Ms. Deborah was talking about. Okay? Thank you. So colon hydrotherapy is definitely the scope of practice that I totally believe it is the foundation of health. My background's in clinical ecology, and that's where I went to school at the Academy of Environmental Medicine, and that's how the body interacts with everything in the environment. So from foods to chemicals to emotions, allergies, intolerances, all of those things, and how it plays a huge part on our body. Okay, so your colon is 5 to 5.5 feet long. The average colon carries around 10 to 40 pounds of waste. Your colon stems back to birth. Your colon is your large intestine. Okay, so without you releasing from the colon, you're not providing the body the resources and tools in order for all vital organs and all systems of the body to release into it. So it supports the whole body. The meridians, blood supply, porta vessels, carry all of that throughout your body and disperses it back through your blood supply. So your digestive system is 27 to 30 feet, okay, including vital organs. So whatever your colon doesn't release, your liver has to drain. And your liver is vital. So your liver drains the colon through the gastrointestinal tract called the hepatic portal vein. Okay?
Can you say that again?
Yes. So pretty much what your colon does not release, the liver has to bear because the liver drains the colon. And your digestive system is 27 to 30 feet. Your colon is a part of that. Okay? So when you do colon hydrotherapy or you do a cleanse and you're releasing, you're not just cleaning out poop or just cleaning out the accumulation. You're actually supporting 27 to 30 feet of who you are. Okay? And so we definitely went over this, the 27 to 30 feet. And let's talk about the small intestine as well that's included in that because it's very important because we talked about malabsorption and malnutrition. You get 90% of your absorption through your small intestine. 90%. So therefore, if you're not getting good absorption, your body's not getting what it needs because the cells are not receiving what it needs. Okay? In order for us to thrive, our cells need to get what it needs because we want the good cells to thrive. We don't want to feed the bad cells. So the bad cells will be microorganisms, pathogens, viruses, illness, disease, things like that. So we want to overpopulate the good cells. How do we do that? Right? We do that through good absorption. How do we get good absorption? Minerals. Without the minerals, we don't get good absorption of our water, our food, our thought process. It's a conduit. Okay? Right.
Okay, am I ahead or?
No, you're good. You're
Okay.
good. A little shift in the screen, but that's okay.
Okay.
So when we talk about the colon, 70% of your immune system is in your colon. So when we talk about how do we boost the immune system, 70% is in your colon. So just by having bowel regularity, not just a bowel movement, but bowel regularity, as Mr. Todd talked about, if you're only pooping once per week, right? You're only pooping 4 times per month, right? And you're having 21 meals roughly in a week. If you do the math, the accumulation. And most people are constipated. And how long have they experienced that? And we're even seeing it in not just primary education because they hold their bowel movements, but we're also seeing it in infants, right? Infants are constipated. They come out of the womb constipated. So now we have to talk about that 90% of the neurotransmitters that are within the colon, feelings and emotions, okay? So 90% of your neurotransmitters are in your colon. We're talking about fight or flight, dopamine, serotonin, fear, anxiety, depression, joy. All of these things are in your colon. So when they talk about your colon being the second brain, right, I believe it's the first. Because feeling happens faster than thought, right? And so what you feel and those emotions create a person to mentally make choices, right? So if we can control that internal well-being, right? And how do we control it, right? Because that word control is also linked to fear emotionally. How do we manage it, right? But because people are so used to trying to control things, it's like a hot button word. So it's like one of those topics that I talk about, can we change the word to how do we manage ourselves better? Not control ourselves or control others. How do we manage it and how do we do it daily? And so just keeping it simple, drinking water, chewing our food, right? In assessing our own self, going inward before we go outward, like, why do I feel this way? Why do I have anxiety? Did this really happen? Right? So that first relationship is going to be with yourself, just like Ms. Deborah talked about, right? You going inward to yourself, you know, your subconscious. Your subconscious is like a file cabinet. So anything that has happened in your life and throughout your life, it's like what happens is the memory bank pulls it and says, okay, this is familiar. To be conscious would be something new, right? Something different. In order for it to be change and growth, it has to be different, right? So that's more in the conscious. And then when you really start having a relationship with yourself as an individual, then you're getting to that superpower. Because now you know the difference. And you have to know the difference for change to come, for growth to happen. And you can experience a growth spurt any moment in time, throughout the day. You don't have to wait till the next day or the next year. That moment, that conversation, that environment. Make sense?
Yes.
All right. And so I like to talk about digestion because digestion is so important as far as our immune system. Our digestion really begins with our eyes because of what we see in sensory. So that really starts there. But I really want to talk about what the mouth does when you chew. Because you're releasing your own enzymes and your own good bacteria in order to break down any pathogens before you swallow. So when we talk about how do we boost the immune system and how do we keep our immune functioning properly, no matter what you eat, what you're exposed to, how you swallow, what you breathe, what you're exposed to, all going down into your respiratory because COVID is considered respiratory virus, right? Masks compromise our oxygen intake. So let's really talk about the mouth, right? We have to really deal with the facts. So how can we support that environment and boost the immune system at the same time about information that people just don't know? Billions and trillions is developed in our mouth just based on chewing and just based on sensory, okay? Also just knowing what I also spoke about, how the saliva breaks everything down. Meaning the invaders that are getting ready to enter into your body, you have the opportunity just based on chewing to create that, to break down so that therefore it doesn't manifest itself, right? And it's not about how many times I should chew and whatnot. It's a matter of taking time and realizing consciously, I have this resources and tool that my body was already provided in order for it to naturally rebuild itself so that I can potentially heal myself just from chewing. Just from chewing. Also, some other healthy guidelines. I will always talk about water. It's who we are. It is who we are. And without the water, our systems and the functions of our body just don't do what they're designed to do. So providing the resources and tools is huge because you have to rebuild. The body naturally wants to do this. There is timelines, like Ms. Deborah talked about, when we sleep, but also every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks, every 6 weeks. Even our DNA, 5 to 7 years. So when you talk about things that have been coded, and our DNA has been coded, whether it's not just what we do, but it's also things that are hereditary, directly linked to us, and it's also things that are genetic, which is also global, linked to us. You know, that's why so many things about getting your DNA and people do things to get tested to kind of find out where they come from. All of that matters. But what we need to do is realize where it comes from, the facts about it, and how we're able to provide ourselves the resources and tools to overcome it. But if you don't know, how are you able to? So this is like a wealth of knowledge and very resourceful. And like Todd said, take what you need. If it resonates you. If it doesn't, it's okay. But everybody's in different stages in their health and wellness. Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And so it's one of those things that this is amazing information because you have people that have the knowledge, but in knowledge, what happens, you got to determine what is factual or what resonates with you. I believe all the power is in the wisdom because wisdom is applied. So apply it, activate it in your life. And then, you know, just healthy tips for people to do. Like, a lot of people are into nutrition. It's more to health and wellness than just nutrition because it's the quality of food, right? How much you eat, who you eat with, you know, how you chew the food. All those things are factors. Nutrition is just one part of it. I believe in holistic nutrition. So we talk about portion control. How do you properly combine your food, okay? And then when you do eat, is that what's best for you at that particular time? Because so many people want to go vegan or vegetarian or pescatarian and ketogenic and all these things, but is that good for you right now?
Right, exactly.
Right? And you may need to just start with, okay, I'm going to do some steamed vegetables and lean protein, transition into maybe going vegan 3 days a week, you know, and if I'm at a social event, knowing how to be disciplined in portion control. So the template is for you because you don't want to do it stressful because if you're healthy but you're stressed, it don't matter. It don't matter, right? You want to be, you want to be assertive. And so just resources and tools that I help people with. I do wellness coaching for people. I do a 10 to 15 minute consultation to kind of see where you're at. You know, we could either do a Zoom or we do email or we do over the phone. So it helps people to kind of navigate like where they're at. And we have the conversation based on the individual. I don't have one size fit all, one template for everybody. And then also in my products that I have, which will be on the screen here, it talks about what you need and you can interchange them. Because you may start out with, okay, constipation and bowel regularity. That's step one, always. So that you're able to get good absorption. But some things some people don't need. I don't believe in investing money and time in things that's not where you're at. Sometimes we just need to talk about when's the last time you just learned how to breathe. Like Ms. Deborah talked about, the breath work, promoting the oxygen and whatnot. And then like Todd was talking about like your belief system, because he did talk about the fear and what it really is. So managing the belief helps manage the mindset. So it's like a little bit of everything, and that's what holistic is. It creates this whole picture of, okay, I need a little alternative, or I may need some x-rays, I may need some lab work. This is where I'm going to implement supplements, so that you come out with a plan for you, right? As we're all different. Yes, so these are my products, and what I like to do is educate people about what they actually need based on a health intake form and all about your wellness and what you're trying to achieve and accomplish. Realistically, like, you know, people want to juice, but if you don't have time to juice, let's talk about some other things that you can do if you don't have the time. You don't want to be stressing, prepping, preparing, whatnot, and then some people are not ready to go raw because their digestive system's not healthy. Some people may need a little more protein. Sometimes it may be plant-based, right? Some people need colon hydrotherapy before supplements. So you're able to absorb the supplements so that you're able to really benefit and maximize what the supplement is providing for you. Because what you don't want to do is even healthy things in your body overwhelm your liver, right? Or doing healthy things overwhelm you from a stress component. And it's about management. How do we manage yourself daily? Moment by moment, you know, some people are like one day at a time. I think we live in a culture now where it's moment by moment. One conversation, one, you know, just watching something on the news can change everything for an individual, you know, and it's a matter of moment by moment and knowing what that means for you, okay? And then just more pictures of my products and whatnot. I didn't bring them today, but my website is wellnessoflifeproducts.com. You can also go to wellnessoflifegmail.com to schedule that complimentary consultation that I love to do for people. I love to educate. It's like one of those things like, I have this information. I love to give, not just share, but in full totality based on you as an individual.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah. And we get to-